Hi, and welcome to the Valorous Restoration Marketing Podcast, where we talk about various aspects of the damage restoration industry and things that are happening there. Today, I'm really pleased to have Ron from Nuttnest with me. Nuttnest is, well, I'll let Ron explain it, but it's an amazing tool for restoration clients to be using. And we're going to talk today to find out why Nuttnest can help you grow your restoration business. So Ron, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. Can you begin by giving us a little bit of background on yourself and how you came up with Nuttnest?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me today. I really appreciate spending the time with you and getting to know you here recently. So
Absolutely.
my background, I spent the last over decade in residential construction, working from out in the field as a foreman to field supervisor to production, operations management, and even spending some time in the sales department. And one of the things I heard all too often was, we love you. We love you guys. We love everything about your company, but your communication is lackluster at best. And that is where Nuttnest was born. It was actually, I designed it to solve a problem that I was dealing with from a management and leadership perspective within the company that I was at. And come to find out, that's something that's throughout the entire construction industry. It wasn't just centrally located to us in what we were dealing with. A lot of contractors, restoration businesses are very, very good at what they do, but the ball gets dropped when it comes to having that communication with the homeowner. And it's no fault to the homeowner or that company. There's just no cohesive way to have that communication. And what Nuttnest allows is a platform where all that communication between that homeowner and that contractor can happen seamlessly and flawlessly. I like to say we're like air traffic control for contractors. We direct that communication. We want single call results. Every time a customer picks up the phone, they call the right person at that company and they get that answer they're looking for, whether it's a scheduling, a production, a sales question, because we all know that initial person that comes out to the house that everybody has the phone number for, 90% of the stuff that happens after they leave, that's not the point of contact to have. But that's the only number you have. So what Nuttnest does is it allows you and your customers to have that direct line of communication. So that headache that comes from a customer not getting a question answered right the first time, or getting the runaround, or the ball gets dropped because everybody's out busy doing what they're supposed to be doing, not that they're intentionally not getting back to the customers. It's just a lack of direction on who should actually be taking these calls. That's what we solve at Nuttnest.
Very cool. Well, I know when you described it the other day, I was really impressed with the what you had, and again, identifying an issue. One of the big things that we often talk about is indeed just that. It's identifying an issue that's out there and that's happening, and figuring out how can we find a solution to that. Um, Let me ask you from just a little bit more about the software, Ron. How, once a contractor signs up for this and they have that ability, how does their team communicate back to that homeowner or that property owner in a unified way? I mean, is there like an app that everybody uses, or is it work from different phones? Just tell me a little bit about how that works from the contractor's perspective, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the homeowners, it's a mobile app. That's what they have. And what we found is, from the contractor's perspective, a mobile app isn't the best, because you have a lot of people in the office that are sitting in front of computers, and you need ability to be able to be mobile as well. So from a contractor's perspective, it's all web based, to where you can either mobilely do it on a tablet or a phone or at a desktop in the office. And that allows that direction to be able to happen. Say you're the person that's in charge of scheduling questions. So a customer reaches out, you get a notification, you get an email saying, hey, Sam over in Grand Rapids has a question about when we're going to be out there and who's going to be at his house. That goes directly to that person that's responsible for the scheduling. So then they can reach right out, message that back, and say, hey, the crew will be out there Friday, 2 o'clock. We're good to go. It's going to be John and Steve that are going to be out there, and allow that communication to happen. And then that gets tracked. So the contractor and the homeowner have record of that. So there's never any he said, she said, what exactly is going on with the project. And not only does that go as a messenger to that customer, it goes into what is their live feed. So think of like an Instagram, uh, Facebook feed, like right in the app. So what we have is then that customer goes in there, looks at that, and can say, "Hey, right here's exactly what's happening on my project. This is the last communication I had with the contractor. Here's the photos. Here's who's at my house. Here's when they're coming," and be able to get that data real time, whether they're at the house during the project or they're staying at a friend's house during the project, or say it's a rental property and the owners are across the country, be able to continue to have that interaction.
So, Ron, you bring up something interesting there, and it made me think as you were talking with today's remote workers, and how many of our staff may not even be in the same city we are now after COVID and all that, or maybe they're just working from home. From what I'm understanding, then your app gives people the ability through their web browser to connect both my team from anywhere they're at, but also with a property owner anywhere they are at, as long as there's an internet connection. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. So you'd be able to have your team, whoever's assigned to certain areas of that project, be able to pick right up and have that communication, whether they're in the same city or not.
Oh, that's super, super powerful because, again, I know, again, both from a property owner perspective, but just from a staffing perspective, we're seeing that across the board that maybe your back office staff isn't even in the city you're in any longer because you're hiring somebody from Denver when you're in Minneapolis, or you may be in Tampa and hiring somebody from Seattle. So that's really, really cool. I love how that works. From a business owner's perspective as a contractor, what type of reporting and alerts are available to help me review what my team's doing and understand if there's any issues or problems?
So from an owner's perspective, is you can have yourself linked in so you get all the notifications when there's communications happening, or you can have your team that's getting those, and this is all viewable. So you can go in your dashboard as an owner and look at each one of the projects and see exactly what is that communication your team is having between the customer. Because one of the problems that ends up happening is if you do not have a centralized way for communication to flow through your company, which most do not, and that's one of the biggest problems with communication, is everything's out there in different places, and there's no one place for that owner to be able to look and say, "Hey, here's the conversation my management or my foreman or my crew guys are out having with customers, and here's the response that they're getting." And when you get that elevated customer that is a problem, you can look back at what that communication track looked like and figure out exactly where that breakdown happened and why they became so upset. We find that 95% of customer complaints come from somewhere along the line having a communication breakdown, which causes 35% of time on kind of construction projects to be wasted with either standing around, going back and fixing stuff. Just general conversation of having to have managers and leadership out at a customer's house on a Saturday or Sunday trying to figure out exactly what went wrong can all be led back to a communication breakdown at some point in time. Like I said, contractors, restoration companies are very good at what they do. And they need to just continue doing that and let there be a way for the communication piece to be applied. And that's what Nuttnest serves, is we take that off of their shoulders so they can go do what they're really, really good at every day.
No, I can see where that'd be just a huge value to me as a business owner and as management to be able to see what's happening. And I absolutely, as you mentioned, I've got to believe it would add a tremendous amount of value in minimizing the amount of wasted hours, and wasted in quotes, but the amount of time we have to spend rehashing communication or going and finding out, okay, who texted who and who said what and what was actually said to the client. Misunderstandings happen, but it'd be much, much easier if I'm the owner and I get a customer complaint that, wow, John just messaged me and said he wasn't going to be back for 3 hours. excuse me, wasn't going to be back for 3 hours. And I look back and go, no, actually, he said he was going to be back at 3 o'clock and it's 2 o'clock right now. I can then see that in real time without having to bother my staff, without having to figure out what's going on, clarify that with the client, and we all move on. And we just turned what would have been 30 minutes of 4 people tracking each other down into probably a 1 to 2 minute process, clarifying with the customer, resetting their expectations, and moving on, and really just making a much more productive day. It sounds like a great system overall.
Absolutely, Jonathan. What you just said is one of the headaches that we're solving. And one of the things that ends up happening a lot of times is that this isn't your tier one, you're just normal employees that have to deal with this stuff. A lot of times this is your managers, your general managers, the ones that you have tasked with leading the business and helping move the business forward and grow it, are the ones that end up having to be out at customers' houses. And what I found is when I was out doing that, everything linked back to communication. And if we could fix the communication piece, it could free up me to do what I was actually being paid to do. And that was grow the organization and continue to move us forward so we could grow as a business. And I think that right there, from an owner's perspective, adds a lot of value, because now those high level employees that you have tasked to help you grow your organization are freed up to do what and implement your vision to grow the company, instead of being out at a house dealing with an upset customer. Because just like what you said, they said they were going to be there at 3. They heard 3 hours, and then this turned into a big deal. And now the homeowner's unhappy with other things because they feel like they were lied to, or there was a non-follow through happened. So to me, that right there is a lot of value when you can continue to have your high level employees do what you want them to do, and continue to grow your business and develop and lead the employees, instead of being out problem solving and conflict resolution on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of us as owners and managers can appreciate the value in being able to work on the business instead of getting stuck working in the business, which happens every day. So just a huge, huge tool to be able to do that. And I also would imagine this is a great tool to help increase the reviews that we're getting back from our customers as well. We all know that when it comes to marketing, getting those Google reviews and other online reviews from customers has tremendous value to our business. And this better communication is going to just obviously facilitate better, higher, and more common reviews that are, again, 5-star, exactly what we're looking for as a company. So huge win. Ron, let me ask you, if somebody's interested and they say, hey, I'd love to learn more about Nuttnest, how do they do that?
So you can go to nuttnest.com, or my email address is ron@nuttnest.com. Feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I am more than willing to sit down and walk people through everything. And go check out the website, see what we have going on. We're getting ready to have a pre-registration to get people involved, and we're going to also have an amazing deal that's going to be out there as well. I can't talk about it yet, but when our team put it out there, I about fell out of my chair. I couldn't even believe it. But it's what's the right thing to do to go out there and help contractors continue to have a better experience for their homeowners and be able to do amazing things. My mission is to just push the construction industry to where it should be and continue to raise the bar in what we do every day.
Well, that's just awesome. I really appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy as you're launching and everything else, getting everything going. I appreciate your time today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the software in action, and just love that there's a solution out there to help make that communication more effective and, candidly, simpler across the board. Ron, thank you so much for your time today. And if you're watching this podcast and you've experienced these communication issues, let me encourage you, reach out to Ron and his team, find out what they've got to offer, and if it'd be a good fit for your company to help you grow and better serve your customers. Ron, thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. Any last words you want to leave us with?
No, hey, thank you for having me here today. Uh, I'm here to help and continue to grow this. So if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you. And everybody make it a great day.